When it comes to strategy, going from one home and thinking how you want to grow to have more homes, focusing on that operational excellence. Because if you are going to be acquiring more homes or growing and you need any kind of lending product, they're going to want to see great profit margins.
Welcome to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast with your hosts, Charlie Cameron and Alex 𝐓𝐢𝐦𝐞𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐬. This is your go-to show for cutting-edge insights from industry leaders in residential assisted living.
Whether you're ready to launch your own assisted living business or looking to invest in this fast-growing, high-impact sector, we are here to equip you with the tools, strategies, and confidence you need to succeed. Get ready to ride the silver tsunami and change the future of senior care. Now on to today's show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex 𝐓𝐢𝐦𝐞𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐬, and today we've got an awesome returning guest, one of our favorites, Lindsay Daudistel. Welcome back to the podcast. If you listened to Lindsay's first episode, you know that she's built an incredible life and business. She's been balancing a growing family, traveling, and running multiple homes. So I'm really excited to have her back on the podcast. Make sure you check out her first episode. But Lindsay, do you mind giving us a quick snapshot for where you are today in your journey and what's changed since we last talked?
Yeah, I think since the last time we spoke, we have opened up another location. And that home was one that we had to do an extensive renovation on and do a 4,000 square foot addition. So that's been a really big, exciting piece. We have other homes that will be opening soon at that same location and can actually build more there too. So that's going to be a pretty large community there, which is exciting. Other things that have changed really since we last spoke. We've been growing our management team over the past few years. So continuing growing that management team, that leadership team, and making some changes in there as well. But really making sure we're maintaining our values and our culture as we do all these things and really build up our processes and admissions and our strategy as well. So.
I love that. And for folks who don't know, Lindsay was a nurse previously. So she does have training as a nurse and left the healthcare field and went full bore into assisted living. This was home number 10, I think, that you guys just opened up. Is that correct?
Yep.
That is awesome. How many beds are you guys at now?
We're about at 130 beds.
Wow, that is amazing. And what's the plan look like for those future developments on that property for you?
Yeah, the other two homes, those are renovations. Those should be opening sometime in the next 6 months to get those open. And then the next phase will be new builds. So hopefully next year, because I will tell you this first home, we had it at 95% occupancy within the first 30 days.
Holy cow.
For 24 beds. That shows you that part of town needed it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Where were those homes located?
Everything we have is in Southwest Ohio.
Awesome. That's incredible. What does the day-to-day look like for you right now at 130 beds and development project as well?
No different. We're really big on prioritizing our family and making sure that that comes first. We've got 8 kids together, 1 baby, being mom and being with the kids, coaching sports, being at their sports things. That's priority for me. And that's why we built a team around us and a really fantastic leadership team to do a lot of things. So my husband and I, we take on plenty of things as well, right? Plenty of work, but really balancing that time and just spending a couple of days a week, really either in the office or going to our different locations. And of course, being available by phone all the time too. So a good balance.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's something I've always admired of you. And Charlie, Luke, myself, we all feel the same exact way as you. It's so important to spend that time with family. And for me, I always joke, I want to spend as much time with my kids now while they think I'm still cool. And so that is peak right now. They love dada. And so it's been awesome. But that's something I've always admired of you. You've been able to build this incredible business, this large business, and still have that balance. How have you set up the systems to be able to do that and the people around you to be able to do that?
I think from the very beginning, having our culture, our core values, and all of that really as the foundation for Optimize. So anybody new that we bring into any role within our company, they know what we stand for. They know they have certain expectations, and that just continues to build. Our orientation process, of course, those processes are always changing, but it's the fundamentals and those basic expectations that stay the same. So I think that's really helped having that from the get-go.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have really built a great culture. And so folks know when they're coming in to work at Optimize Senior Living that this culture is already established. And so when you find the right people, when you hire the right people that fit that culture, it probably makes it easier to train them. And that, of course, having the right people then helps you scale. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. Having the right
Yeah.
people in the right roles is critical.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's turnover. There has been, and my mentor, what she always says is, people that have helped get you here aren't necessarily the people that are going to get you there. So that has been true so far.
Yeah, that's so true. That's something I think I didn't really understand about business as much. You think, hey, I have this rock star team right now and they're really doing a great job. And then you realize as you scale and as the business gets bigger and things change, you're like, man, that was the rock star team for that moment in time. And now it's kind of time to keep going. And so we're learning that within the RAL Room Mastermind as we've had to bring on some more folks to the team. And it's been amazing. But yeah, it was something I think you think, oh, I can just get by with the same awesome people and we'll be able to do that. But it's constantly changing and constantly learning in this business for sure.
Yeah.
That is awesome. One thing that really stands out about your story is that you've scaled without relying heavily on outside investors. How have you been able to do that and why did you choose that path?
Yeah, to me, I feel like we've gone through some slow growth. When I first got started, I was like, oh, I want all these homes as quick as possible. So relatively slow, but strategic and making sure to maintain what we are doing as well. And we want to be great at what we're doing. So slow growth is okay. So not utilizing outside investors, that has been key for us because of exit strategy and how we expect to exit this at some point. We had even dabbled in, hey, we could grow this a lot quicker if we always had investors that were buying the real estate and then we come in as the operator to do that. So we had a lot of investors that were interested and we're going to go down that path. But then when we thought about exiting, oh my gosh, if we're going to sell in however many years, now we have all of these buildings that hold so much of the value that are owned by other people, and how that would all look to sell, and what that's not going to help us in the long term. So we backed off of that and decided that would not be the best. I think it's still awesome. If somebody wants to get into this business and have a couple homes and have somebody that can own the real estate and you do the operations, that is a fantastic way to make great revenue, do what you want to do in the RAL space without owning the home. But you got to think about the end game with that too. So yeah, so that was a big piece in not utilizing outside investors. And then it was really to just grow our own empire and how we can have that full control and then have just a nice portfolio of our business that is ours.
Yeah, I love that. And I think a key thing you said is that you guys scaled slowly, but strategically, and that's okay. And I think a lot of times folks feel that same way. Hey, I got to get into this business and like immediately get 10 homes and 130 beds. Remind me, what time frame has that been for you in terms of when you got started to now?
Yeah, we opened the first home. We had our first resident in like April of 2018.
Okay.
So about 8 years.
So public math, yeah, 8 years. So that's good. Yeah, so over 8 years, and that is absolutely incredible and life-changing in 8 years that you've been able to scale 10 homes, 130 beds with a lot more on the way. And I'm sure in recent years, well, I know in the past few years, you guys have been scaling a bit faster and faster, which is incredible as you build more and more teams and more systems and are able to establish that. But I think sometimes folks think, oh, this is an overnight success that she went from nothing to 10 homes and 130 beds. This was 8 years of really hard work. And it's important to think about it that way and figure out how you can scale strategically. I love that you said that. And I think that's really important. And then for investors, yeah, it makes complete sense. You guys are able to benefit from the real estate side of things and all the benefits that come with real estate. And I know you had a real estate investment background before assisted living. So you understand all the benefits of real estate as well as the operating business. And so that's one thing that's so cool about this is that there's a beautiful blend of real estate and business, and you can pick and choose what works best for you at the stage of life that you're in. And if you decide, hey, I just want to operate and lease a property out, that doesn't mean you have to do that forever. Maybe that's how you get started, and then you save up some capital for the down payment, and then the next one you buy. And so there's a lot of different ways to do that. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it on the head. That's great. And even lease, doing like a lease option just to get you into the space. It can be a win-win for the person that's buying the real estate where they don't have to hang on to it long term. And it gives you enough time to build up some funds to be able to buy that back off of them too.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a great way to do it as well. Can you break down tactically, if you don't mind sharing, how have you been able to fund your growth? Has that been reinvestment? Has that been cash flow from deals? Has it been creative financing? Maybe a combination of all the above?
Yeah. And I guess being creative, let's see, tactically, we have looked into so many different funding sources, right? Like different banks, different funding sources that can help provide that capital. So we spent a lot of time going through that and really finding which product would make the most sense for us. So we knew our last acquisition, that we knew we needed to do some sort of SBA loan. So then it was finding the right product there, the right bank to work with, how all that could go. And getting the lowest amount down was going to be really critical for us as well. So we were able to find one that was a 15% down, and then we could leverage a seller's note on half of that.
That's awesome.
Down payment. So on that acquisition, yeah. So we only ended up having to bring 7.5% down on an $8 million loan versus 15%. So it was pretty substantial with that, and just being creative with how that looked. And then for future growth with that, because SBA has certain caps on different things, moving our real estate over into HUD loans so that we can then refi out of our SBA loans to be able to reutilize that then for other acquisitions.
That's amazing. What was that HUD process like for you? Isn't there a kind of a set number of beds before, or a set value before HUD will start looking at being able to take advantage of their financing options?
No, so we have not gone down that road yet.
Okay.
That's like our next phase. Like
Nice.
getting out of these loans that we had. Yep.
Okay, awesome. That's coming.
More of our properties this year.
That is awesome. Yeah. So have you looked into that a little bit more? Isn't there I don't think it's a set number, but they're looking for a more substantial loan volume amount to be able to refinance into a HUD loan?
Know about that, or maybe there is, but it wasn't one of those things like I
Yeah.
retained because it didn't apply.
Sure.
My husband had overheard. Thought he had his
Nice.
earbuds in, but beds.
20 beds. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I thought that there was a certain parameter. I wasn't sure what it was. So 20 beds. Okay, that's less than I thought. That is awesome. I'm excited to hear how that process goes for you as you guys refinance and open up those SBA loans again. That is awesome. Lindsay, if someone has one home today, is there anything in particular you would tell them to think about in terms of mindset or strategy to continue scaling?
Yeah, when it comes to strategy, going from one home and thinking how you want to grow to have more homes, focusing on that operational excellence. Because if you are going to be acquiring more homes or growing and you need any kind of lending product, they're going to want to see great profit margins, right? So if you're operating on a 5% profit margin and maybe you're only sitting at 70% occupancy or less all the time, that's not going to look great. So then how valid are you then for them as a lending partner? You got to look attractive to a bank. Yeah, operational excellence from that standpoint, I would say, is huge. And then back to what we had talked about too, when it comes to mindset and just the whole like culture of your company. If you're at one home now and struggling with a lot of things, like you need to get that tight before growing to other homes, because the problems now, like they're not gonna go away by having more homes, right? So getting really firm on who you are, your clarity of your messaging, how you operate your team, and then thinking too about like your org chart, where it's at to where it can be, and how to structure that org chart with growth.
Running a residential memory care home is not just a calling, it's a maze of licensure, paperwork, zoning regulations, and day to day challenges that can feel overwhelming. That's why so many successful operators partner with Legato Living franchise. Legato Living does more than just help you open a home. They help you open it the right way so you can stay focused on what matters, providing exceptional care to those living with dementia. And once your doors are open, it can get lonely at the top. As a Legato Living franchisee, you are never on your own. Legato Living offers ongoing operational support, from staff training and owner conferences to systems, cultures, and quality assurance, because a home is only as good as its operator, and great operators deserve a great partner. If you're ready to open a residential memory care home that truly makes a difference, visit Legato Living and start with confidence today. Yes, that is really helpful. Yeah, we talk about like the MVC mission, vision, culture, and how important that is. As you mentioned, that first home, if you can really establish that mission, that vision, that culture, the first home, get that operating smoothly, it's going to be so much better for you going forward. So I love that. I'd love to pivot a little bit more into operations, if you don't mind. Like more operations at scale, I think would be helpful. But as folks are first getting started, what do you think is the first key hire from an operations perspective?
Oh, your first key hire. I think that depends on your strengths. If you are a really strong networker and a really strong people person able to do sales, then your first key role to hire is going to be your operations manager, your executive director, your key nurse, whatever you want to call them in your home, doing that piece to allow you to go out and utilize your strengths to get people into the building. If you are a nurse, if you're that clinical person and you're fantastic working with the residents in the home, then your key hire is going to be that outside salesperson, the person that's getting your name out there. So you need to understand your strengths first and not to be afraid to hire. You need to hire forward with that. Otherwise, it's going to take you a lot longer to get to where you want to go.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. Has anything changed for you guys in terms of hiring and managing staff from when you got started to now as you've continued to scale?
Oh, yeah. Hey, let's be honest. I came from a clinical world to real estate investing, and I had no experience in management or setting schedules or anything. I remember when I first got started, I just wanted everybody to be happy. And I would hire somebody and I would say, okay, what kind of hours do you want to work? They'd be like, oh, I want to work from 9 to 3. Okay, great. We'll put you down for 9 to 3. The next person I'd hire, okay, so 9 to 3 is taken. So then what hours would you like to work? That did not work out well.
Yeah.
So yes, a lot has changed from when I first got started to now, and just how we have set 12-hour shifts and utilizing QMAs, better orientation process. And we have somebody in an HR role now. So even just our hiring, like all of that whole process is just so much more streamlined. Even having ads going out for hiring and how it all funnels through.
That is awesome.
Going forever on how much has changed since first getting started. But
Yeah, absolutely. I want to pull the hiring thread a little bit more because a lot of folks have difficulty finding and retaining good caregivers and good staff. Are there anything you've learned over the years that's been beneficial for you guys at Optimize Senior Living?
yeah, that's the field we're in, right? Like we understand there's going to be turnover. You've got your core group, you've got people that stay for a while, but certainly having that turnover. And one thing we're really focused on right now is that tenure in that first 90 days. Because when you really look at the data, it seems like those first 90 days are what's so critical and bringing people in and then they're just leaving. So then is it like, okay, is it their expectations of the role, expectations of the community? What can we do to be more clear on that prior to them ever coming in? What does orientation look like? And then those first couple of weeks and really making them feel like they're a part of the team, making them feel welcomed, training them up, getting all of the things that they need to be successful in their role. And then that communication piece with them too, ongoing, where it's the touch points regularly with management or with HR and just touching base with them. Hey, how are things going? Right? Anything you want to talk about from this week, just engaging them in questions and showing them that you care until something just blows up and then they just leave because they're just done. But getting ahead of it to meet them where they're at. And then offering a little bit of flexibility, not the flexibility I was just talking about with what hours do you want to work any time of the day kind of thing. But back to the whole family comes first. And one of our core values really is family. If somebody does need to do something for their family or doctor's appointments or whatever, to have that kind of compassion and empathy too, where it's not just it's by the book, but like, all right, does a kid need to come in? If you have a baby and you're doing office work today, bringing your baby with you, it'll be okay. Like showing that side of it too.
I love that. That is awesome. Yeah, just really treating folks like people and things come up and meeting them where they are can make a huge difference. I've been thinking a lot about staffing recently. We're working on a new development in Missouri, and this is a hurdle we'll have to jump through once that's done. But as well as in Texas. But staffing, I was reading an article and it's 50% of turnover. You can expect 50% of turnover with caregivers within the first 90 days as a whole. And that's across all of assisted living, senior living, and nursing homes. I'm like, wow, that is unbelievable. Like, obviously the system's broken and there's some ways that can improve that caregiver retention. And so we've been really trying to think through what are some ways that we can really incentivize our staff going forward. It's just something that we're always thinking about. Has there been anything in particular that you've noticed outside of what you already mentioned that's been helpful from a retention perspective?
Doing different engagement things, especially like around the holidays, doing things for them. I'm trying to think. I guess like increasing benefits and all of that, like typical stuff. One thing, I think I've talked about it on here before though, that we've always had culture leads. Now we've actually changed that name to be a senior resident assistant. We noticed that the word lead, that some people were like taking that in a certain way. I don't know. So now we have our senior resident assistants, where they're the ones that are really like holding the hands of new hires and the rest of the team to show them the way. We call it the optimized way, but to show them that and welcome them into the team. So I think having that resource, that one person to go to that's not necessarily your manager, but another peer to go to, hey, how do I do this? What is expected?
That's awesome. Yeah, that can be huge. Let's pivot a little bit and talk about maintaining quality at scale. So I think one of the fears that folks have as they're scaling, as they're getting more homes, is that quality is going to drop. How have you been able to avoid that?
I would say working as a team. And every time we've opened up a new home, bringing in people from our other homes to be there, again, to show them what we expect, to lead that team and put in the same parameters that we've had at the other house. So whether it's the activities, the engagement, the communication, to making sure that we're doing things the same in all of our buildings. Of course, every home has its own dynamic and its own vibe and all of that, but the structure of what we're doing continues at every location. Even the documentation and everything that we're doing is the same. And now we have that regional clinical director too. So making sure that she's going around to all of the homes and holding them all to that same standard.
That's great. Yeah, so it sounds like really optimized systems and processes that are standardized across all the homes can be really helpful for that.
Yes.
Love that. A little bit, let's hit a little bit on occupancy because that's always another concern as well. So of course, at scale, keeping homes full becomes more important, but you also have a little bit of buffer. But what does your resident acquisition system look like today?
Oh, yeah. So we've changed things a little bit with that. Of course, doing meta ads and all that kind of stuff. But with utilizing a quiz online has helped a lot with our ads, like taking them through a funnel to do a quiz. So we're obtaining a lot of information, but it's also giving value then back to the potential family as well. We've received, this is the best thing we have done online yet, actually, and how many people are actually clicking, answering the questions all the way through, and then actually leading to a tour and converting to a move-in. So that's been really helpful on our organic side. And yeah, that's helped a ton. We're actually going to be increasing even more our social media presence and what we're paying for on there because of how well it's doing. So that's been really great. Let's see, resident acquisition. Otherwise, I mean, like relationships, and we've talked about that. Relationships are so key, and constantly working on that and meeting new people, but staying in front of them as well. The other thing is just with those referral partners. I know people will push those away and, oh, we don't want to have to pay for a referral. We don't want to have to pay for that move in. But I tell you what, like they are so entrenched in the hospitals and so entrenched in the SNFs. And we could go talk to the SNF every week, but it is so easy for them to just call that one person and say, hey, I've got a discharge, and they take them versus them calling us, do you have a room available? Can you do this? Can you do that? It's so much more work for them. Yes, we want more organic referrals, obviously. It does cost a lot of money to utilize the referral partners, but at the same time, they do fill beds. And then when you have somebody come to tour, it's not so much, I don't want to say wasted time, but when they're coming to tour, the conversions are going to be even better because they're a hot lead. They're not somebody that's cold that you have to then walk them through that whole process. So the sales cycle is quicker and the conversion rate can be higher. So those for us, it really is critical. I'm not talking like your place for moms, your local people, and really building up those relationships. And then actually even today, our team has had 2 meetings already with referral partner companies and having all of their reps on there. And we just walk through like our whole admission process and like what we expect that admission process look like, everything that we do for the families, how smooth we want that transition to be. We showed them all of our documents, like all of the resources that we give to the families. And they were even like, wow, we've never had another assisted living actually reach out to do anything like this. Like we had no idea. We're like, yeah, if we can even set them up for success by doing X, Y, and Z. And they're like, yeah, of course we can do that. We had no idea. So just having that increased communication, that really goes a long way.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, really forward thinking. And I think, like you mentioned, that's only going to help with the conversions and folks understanding what's to come, what's that next step. It takes away some of that anxiety and that fear of even getting to the point of doing a tour. And so I'm sure that's really helpful. And it blows my mind that folks don't think about utilizing even like Google My Business, but then social media and meta ads and those sorts of things. I think we're going to be pivoting in the demographics of the nation when we start having more and more baby boomers coming into assisted living, where the folks that are going to be looking for these homes are going to be the kids, right? That are going to be putting mom and dad in a residential assisted living home, and they're on social media. And so that's a great way to get in front of them and start to be known and get your name out there.
Another key thing that you just said, like the Google My Business, of course, but that's also fueling your AI. So it's training your bots on there. And how many of us are already utilizing any AI as our search engine? And that's just going to increase. So having that AEO as well, so that you can be found on there. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some training, but if you miss the boat now, you'll definitely miss it in the future. So
that's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I find myself all the time just going to 챗GPT sometimes instead of Google. And so you're exactly right there. Definitely want to make sure you're taking advantage of that.
Yeah, honestly, it does the work for you. Instead of having to even click on like the top 3 things that are showing up, it shows you right there and it tells you all the high points. So you're like, oh, that just saved me another 5 minutes.
Yep. All about it. All about systems and efficiency for sure. That is great. Let's pivot a little bit in the last few minutes that we have here and talk about lifestyle and freedom. And so like I said, I've always been impressed with your ability to raise 8 kids and to travel and to run this big business. And you've built this while raising that large family and traveling. So what has the business made possible for your life? And what are your family priorities, as you mentioned before?
Yeah, the business has made all of it possible, right? It's our vehicle for that. And by building up a team and not saying, hey, Lindsay, like you're responsible for doing all these things, but recognizing, hey, I am going to pay somebody to do this piece and pay them well for over here so that it allows me so much more time to do what I want to do. Yeah, it definitely has been the vehicle for all of that. And I've talked before about how I lived in a camper for a year, traveling, and last summer we were gone most of the summer. We intend to be gone most of this summer at the lake, and we'll come home, we'll check on our properties, we'll be available by phone, we'll be checking our emails in the morning and doing all that kind of stuff. But it's really making the best use of our time and not having that expectation either. We could talk about mindset a lot with all of this, but getting out of the mindset of thinking, oh, I need to be working 40 hours a week. No, you don't. What can you do in a shorter amount of time and really just be efficient and get things done on those off hours to allow the rest of your day to do what you want to do?
I love that. That was going to be my next question. So what did you have to let go of to create that freedom?
A little bit of control and delegating and recognizing that you don't have to have your finger on the pulse for everything. If you're hiring somebody to do something, to trust that they will do it. One little example is I'd hired somebody before for the sales and admissions director position, and I just wasn't feeling real comfortable with allowing her to handle our third-party referral companies or to do different things. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that. I've got this. Next thing, I'm doing so many more tours and I'm the one taking the referrals and I'm doing all that. I'm like, I have a full-time job now on top of what I'm supposed to be doing. This is not good. So let that person go, have somebody new in the role. And within a couple of days, like, she's got this. I feel trusting. So having those right people in the right positions where you can really trust them, but releasing from it to get your time back. Because otherwise I could have kept on doing that, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm getting the movements. I can do that. I could just do this role. No, that's taken away from what my ultimate goal is in the company. Why am I doing it in the first place? Because I want to be able to be with my kids and prioritize our family life and our health and doing all those things first.
I love that. Yeah, it is easy to say yes and hard to say no. And that's something that I've been learning. And for folks who are trying to figure this out, how to buy back their time, Dane Martell wrote a great book called Buy Back Your Time. And in it, he's talking about delegating and hiring the right people. And he says, something done for you 80% of the way is 100% awesome. he uses an expletive there, but it's true. And that's something I've been thinking about is like, you have to be willing to let go of that 20% of kind of perfection, if you will, to get some of that freedom. And Lindsay, thanks for sharing that. That is awesome. What are some travels you guys have planned coming up this summer?
Oh, an Alaska cruise here in the beginning of May. So
Nice.
Colorado. We just went on a ski trip in Colorado.
Oh, the snow was so bad this year. I'm in Colorado Springs, and this year was painful. Where'd you guys go?
Up by Vail, Beaver Creek.
Nice. Yeah, Beaver Creek is awesome. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is absolutely gorgeous up there. Yeah, we were so sad about the state of the snow in Colorado this year, which for folks coming to visit from the east and probably from Ohio is still really good, but we just did not get much of a snowpack this year. But that is awesome. We're headed on a bunch of camping trips this year. We're heading back to the Tetons and Yellowstone with my wife's families. My wife's family's doing like a 40-day camping trip, and they're going to meet us out there. And so we're going to go for a few weeks. So that's one of our exciting trips planned. But I just love traveling with the family. It's so much fun.
That is amazing. Enjoy. That's
Yeah.
beautiful out there.
Absolutely. It is incredible. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. I want to ask you a couple follow-up questions and then how folks can reach out to you and connect. But what are you most excited for in your business right now?
Oh, most excited for my business right now. I would say continuing to grow our new location. It's actually like where my husband and I grew up. And so it's exciting to be there. So continuing to expand that location and watching the team grow. So I love watching my team grow mentally as well.
That is awesome. Where can folks reach out to you if they want to connect with you or learn more?
Yeah, I'd say just send me an email, Lindsay with an A at optimizedseniorliving.com.
Awesome. And we'll include that in the show notes. Lindsay, this was awesome as always. Thanks so much for coming back on the RAL Room Assisted Living podcast, dropping all this knowledge and sharing all your wisdom. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the RAL Room Assisted Living podcast. We hope you found today's episode insightful. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a raving 5-star review. And a quick review helps more listeners find the show and more seniors get the exceptional care they deserve.
And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And just so you know, we have prepared some free resources for you to help you succeed in residential assisted living in addition to this podcast. Head over to theralroom.com, that is the RAL room.com, to download our free 10-step guide to launch your first or next residential assisted living home, or our 10 reasons to passively invest in residential assisted living ebooks.
And if you're ready to take the next step and make real moves in the RAL industry, join us in the RAL Room Mastermind. It is an exclusive community where we deep dive into everything you need to launch and grow your own residential assisted living business. You'll get access to recorded courses, live calls with industry experts, a RAL calculator, resources and tools, like-minded entrepreneurs, funding opportunities, and an expert networking community to help you along your journey. Be sure to join us next time on the RAL Room podcast as we continue to explore the world of residential assisted living with more great guests. See you then.